In this episode, I'm going to be answering more of your questions that were submitted on Instagram, and these all have to do with ideal clients. So we are going to talk about how to navigate a time when it feels like nobody is buying, which we have all been there. We're going to talk about it. We're going to discuss systems and processes to help our ideal clients find us, flow into our world, and more importantly, want to stay. We're going to discuss why it's always the clients that we bend over backwards that seems to end up screwing us. And then finally, how to craft a message that attracts in exactly who you want to work with. You are going to love this one. Enjoy. Welcome to All In With Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I'm so happy you are here. So let's dive right in, shall we? Actually, I was thinking about this. I got up early with Rhett today, and you know those days where you wake up and you're actually excited to wake up a little early and you're excited to work. Like that's how I was today, which was so random. It was like 4 a.m. that Rhett woke up. Luckily, I was able to get him back down. But I was so happy that he woke me up because I was so fired up about just getting to work on some things today. But as I was rocking him back to sleep, I had the thought, wow, like I just had so much gratitude for being in that headspace related to my business. Because when I tell you, it's felt like a really long time since I felt that way. And I think that feeling comes in seasons for sure. You know, our businesses are like long-term relationships, like we talked about in the last episode. You know, you're either in or you're out. But your business, much like any kind of long-term relationship, any kind of commitment, is going to go through phases. There's going to be the phase that you're wondering what the heck you were thinking. There's going to be the phase that you're kind of so-so about it. And then there's going to be the phase where you are absolutely obsessed and you cannot get enough. And like I said, I feel like I haven't been here in a really, really long time. And I was talking to a client today because she's feeling a little funky, kind of like how I was feeling probably like earlier in the fall into winter. I was just kind of in this, and I share all this with y'all, but I was very open about where I was at and the confusion I was feeling and the lack of excitement and direction, right? And that's a scary place. I think that's scary for anybody to be in, but especially when you own your own business. This is your baby. You have a lot on the line. You love what you do. So it's weird when you don't feel excitement. And also like when you're a driven, ambitious woman, which is everybody listen to this podcast, when you don't feel connected to your work, or even worse, when you feel lost in it and you're not really sure what direction to go, that feeling is scary. It really, really is. And I speak from the most recent experience. I was just here. And what I was telling my client is what exactly I want to tell you right now is what got me out of this was a few things. I think time, right? To get out, you got to go through. Sometimes transitional phases are there for a reason to illuminate certain things that are working and that aren't working. And, we could go on and on. So I think there's a reason, it can't all be rainbows and sunshine all the time. We understand that. So we give ourselves grace. We take it a day at a time. But also I poured heavily into myself. And because I wasn't like super fired up about work, I kind of not overextended, but like, I guess funneled that energy into my own self and just like identity work. And it illuminated a lot for me, a lot. And I realized many things, but a few things that I realized, and the reason why I bring this up, because it's all relevant to our ideal clients. It's relevant to anything or anyone that we attract into our business, because life is just a mirror. Your business is just a mirror. So if you're feeling lack, if you don't believe in yourself, if you feel lost or confused, that's just going to be, reflected right back to you. So anyway, it was this work on myself that illuminated a lot, including number one, I stopped playing a big game. And this is why my word for this year is big, because it's so easy and it's so insidious sometimes. These things can really sneak up on you. But there's so many seasons in business. You're going to have seasons where the sales are just, can't stop, won't stop. We love those seasons. And then you're going to have slower seasons, or you're going to have other seasons. Maybe it's not even related to sales, but again, like maybe your creativity is down or whatever, or maybe you're having an interesting or a difficult time with clients. It could be so many different things, but whatever the case may be, your life outside of you can infiltrate how you see yourself and how you feel on the inside. And I teach this all the time, right? Like I catch this in clients all the time. And it's just funny how it's so easy to miss in yourself. And that's one of the things that was illuminated, doing this work. I'm like, oh my God, when did I lose my edge? When did I lose my grit? Not grit, but like the nerve. And so that's really positive, right? So it's like, okay, where did we lose it? Let's go get it back. Let's build that back up. But then also I realized too, in terms of standards, there are some things that I kind of let go and became lackadaisical about, right? In terms of like how I take care of myself and how I pour into myself. And I'm here to serve women at a very high level. My dream is to help millions of women increase their wealth and monetize their genius and become rich. That is my goal. I want to help women at every level, but I really love helping women who want to play at that high level. But if I want to serve at a high level, I have to be playing at a high level. I have to be behaving at a high level. My behaviors have to be at a high level. So as I caught these things, I was able to course correct. And I've been doing that for a while now, just kind of getting back the groove, right? Like Stella got her groove back. And when I tell you how fast things can change in so many ways, results for sure, client attraction for sure. But what I'm most excited about is I found myself again. I found myself. I don't think I've shared this on the podcast, but I was sitting with Chris one night. We were like playing a card game. We were like having an at-home date. And we're playing a card game. And I don't know what got us on this subject, but we were talking about my business and he knew how I was feeling. He knew that I had been down for a while, just like feeling down and just feeling like, I don't know, like I just had lost my traction. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was driving this vehicle, which is my business, but like the transmission was messed up. So I couldn't get any traction. You know what I'm saying? It's a stupid metaphor, but or analogy, but like, that's what it felt like. It was like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. And he looked at me and he was like, I want you to get back to like your confident self again. He was like, I hear you on your calls and I see you on your trainings. And he was like, your confidence and your passion for what you do and how sure you are, like it's unmatched. He was like, and I can tell that you're not there. And he said, and I don't know what we need to do to get you back, but we got to get you back. He said, that's what's missing. He said, you got to light that fire again. You got to let yourself. And I really needed to hear that from him, because when you're playing a big game, there's a lot on the line, right? There's a risk that's required, right? No risk, no story, no risk, no reward. Scared money don't make no money, right? So as somebody who is on my team, it really felt good to hear him say, like, hey, do what you got to do to get back to her, because that one right there is unstoppable. You know, it, like, basically what he said to me. That's what I heard anyway. and he was right. And it's been a quest of mine ever since. And so my reason for sharing this with you is, if you relate to where I was, where my client is, where so many of us will find ourselves at one point or another, many times over the course of our business, do the identity work, do the self-work, get back to playing a bigger game. When I started thinking bigger, really big, like 10x big. If you haven't read 10x is easier than 2x, go get it immediately. When I started thinking that way again, it shifted everything on its head. And then in order to even fathom that, then comes the identity work and those level of conversations of, like, who am I being and who am I becoming in this process? That is the work. So if you have not gotten in on my newest training, it's called Exponential. I think we're going to run an ad for it at some point. Get in there. It's low ticket. It is all around this. It's all about extraordinary vision plus exceptional standards, which equals exponential results. That is the gist. So get in there. I could not recommend it more. Okay, let's get into your questions. So the first question, and this leads so perfectly based on, the conversation we were just having. But this question is, what would I do if I started over and I was having a hard time bringing in clients? So the very first thing that I would look at is myself. I would ask myself, am I walking the walk? Am I being the type of mentor, client, whatever your title is, that your dream client wants to hire and is looking to hire? Not just any client, your dream client. We all have a vision for the dream client, right? Maybe you've already worked with her or you've heard about her. That caliber of client has a standard for who she works with, who she spends her time with, and who she invests her money in. So how you get on her level is you get on her level. You become a match to her. So that is the very first thing that I would recommend you do, is that inner work. Get an exponential, right? But also in the same way that I was reflecting on this, and I realized, like, man, I don't know when I started doing that or letting that go or whatever, but like we can tighten it up around here. We've gotten a little lazy. We've gotten a little average, right? None of us are here to be average. None of us are here to behave average or build a business average. The next thing that I would look at would be your marketing and making sure that your messaging and who you're speaking to is that dream client, and you're being very, very specific about not just what it is that you do, but the problem that you solve. What is in it for her? How does she come out the other side? Why would she want to work with you in whatever capacity that you want her to work with you? So we'll get more into that because we have a question on that. And then in terms of, one of the things that I would do, which this also, a lot of these they flow into each other and kind of answer themselves, which is really nice. But the next thing that I would do is I would create a simple funnel designed to attract in that dream client. Okay. So this could be a really, really juicy freebie. Don't think like you know, list of recipes or something that somebody could find on Pinterest. I'm talking like a good freebie. If you're going to do a freebie, make it good, right? Just because it's free doesn't mean everybody wants it. As a matter of fact, higher level clients tend to not be that interested, or I don't know, it's a general statement, but like they're not going for the free thing, right? And also I'm kind of jumping ahead on like assuming who your ideal client is, but assuming that you want to attract in somebody who values her time over money, meaning she's happy to invest no matter what the price point is in order to save herself some time and or get the transformation that you provide. Well, if that's who you're looking to attract in, she probably isn't that interested in freebies. It doesn't mean don't make a freebie, but you want to, again, think of what is going to catch the whale. So a few episodes ago, I gave some of y'all a hard time talking about beta launches, right? Whenever you are testing out a course that may or may not be perfected yet, which is fine. But when you market it as a beta launch and then wonder why people are not busting down the door to get in there when you're essentially saying, hey, this isn't done, but come on in, it's like, hello. So I kind of was joking. I was like, look, if you want to catch a whale, which everybody wants to catch a damn whale, you can't use beta bait. Okay. Beta bait looks like beta ass offers, beta ass marketing, and beta ass behavior, and probably some things in between. All right. You want to catch a whale, you need to be a match to a whale. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I would create a simple funnel with something to get as many of these right clients in, or just, it even could be like a general client. But this funnel leads to a higher level offer designed for those whales, right? So like what this might look like for me is I would have maybe like a masterclass or a really juicy low to mid ticket offer. And at the end, it upsells them either into all in the membership or rare mastermind. Now, those offers are not for everybody, but that's literally the point, right? I'm happy to have you come into my programs, anybody, but those higher level offers are designed specifically to attract in my dream clients, the caliber of women that I want to work with for a year. So that's how I do it. So I would be thinking of ways to do that. And the more of these that you have running that you can point people to and you have already fleshed out and made, obviously the easier the job, right? So that would be my goal. Yeah, I would look at those things for sure. The next question is around, very similar to what we just talked about, systems and processes that I would have in place to let dream clients flow into my life easily. So we already talked about the funnel. Another thing that I would do is I would have my Linktree optimized, whether you use Linktree or you use StanStore, or it doesn't matter. It could be your website, whatever. But I would have that optimized to where if she flows into my world and she's like, wow, I love this content, I love this vibe, she can go into my Linktree and there are things ready for her to binge and get in on. So I would do that. Another thing that I would do is make sure that ManyChat is optimized, make sure that if she comments on one of my reels or something, that all of that is up to date and she can very easily flow in a scaled way there as well. And then I think you can do this at any rate that you want, but if you're newer in business and you're building a brand, it's really important to be consistent with your content creation and your creations in general. You don't really know what is going to stick. You might have ideas, but you really don't know until you try it. So if what you're putting out isn't sticking, try again, whether that be content or whether that be offers. So I went through a phase when I knew that I wanted to build out my membership, and I knew that I wanted that membership to have a bank of offers ready to go in it. I went a whole year where I just cranked out programs, cranked them out. And the cool thing about this is it built my email list majorly, because I was putting out, some sort of masterclass and offer once or twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month, sometimes 4. I mean, I was a launching and a creating machine. That was like my affirmation for the year. I am an offer creating machine. And it was great because it boosted my email list. And also it got so many people in my world. Not all were meant to stay, but a lot of people did, many of whom I'm still working with to this day. So I would also consider that if things are not working, keep throwing things at the wall strategically, of course, until it sticks, and or hire somebody who can support you in creating that juicy offer, the marketing, whatever you feel like is missing there. Hire somebody. Like you cannot afford to keep spinning your wheels and not getting any traction. If you know that there's something missing, go fill that gap, invest in that support, because it will come back to you 10, 20, 100-fold over the lifetime of your business once you figure that out. The next question is how client, oh, I love this one. Okay, so I'm going to answer, let me reword this because the way it's said is, okay, why it's the clients that you make the exceptions for that end up being more of a hassle than they are usually worth. Oh, and it really do be like that. It really, really does. And unfortunately, this creates so much resentment. It feels like such a waste of time, and it's just disappointing all around. So the paradox that I've discovered when it comes to, now I'm just talking about from my perspective, okay? My business, my perspective. The paradox of it all is it is my highest paying, highest level clients that are the easiest by far across the freaking board. By far. Now, this does not mean that they don't need support sometimes or need to move things around. We're all human, right? But like anybody that I consider a high level client, I would work with them until the end of time because they understand boundaries, they understand business, they have integrity, they value my time, they value their time, they value their work, they're in the freaking game. And that is a caliber of person, right? Like listen to that identity that I'm telling to you right there. That is a match for high levels. So these clients, because they are high level clients, because they're high level women, because they're high level business owners, there's high standards across the board. They are attracting in high level. They're attracting in a certain level of revenue. Thus, they're working with high-level mentors like me or like, I'm sure there's a ton of them. So that's what I found, right? Like when you're playing a big game, you understand and you respect a big game, right? Like realize is real. And that tends to make for a really collaborative, easeful relationship. And unfortunately, the biggest pains in the asses are the ones who are kind of nickeling and diming you or don't follow through or whatever not across the board, but like a lot. So I want to be super clear because I don't want anybody to hear this. I especially don't want my clients to hear this and feel like if they're a high level client that like they can't ask for some. I don't think I need to explain that because they get it. But I feel like you're picking up what I'm throwing down. It's always the ones that you make that exception for that you end up regretting because they're just not that dream client, So what we want to look at is Why are we doing that? So for me, anytime that I've done that myself, anytime I've made exceptions that I wouldn't normally make, and it ends up biting me for somebody that I don't even really necessarily want to work with, every single time there's some scarcity wrapped in there. There's a story of, I need the sale and it's not going to come from anywhere else. Or I don't want this person to be mad at me. I don't want them to lash out and create more of a headache, right? There's some sort of scarcity, lack vibe happening. That right there, when you can uncover that and go deeper in there, like, okay, why am I telling myself the story that in order for me to make the money that I want to make, I have to abandon my own morals or my own integrity or my own boundaries? What's happening there, right? You're going to uncover something. So do that work. But yes, that's something I know so many people they're probably nodding. We're all nodding our head right now. Like, yep. It's like that. And we get it. So no more. This is why having strong boundaries and high standards and processes in your business is an absolute game changer. We actually recently had to update some of All Into membership. We had to update some of those protocols because, and I've had All In now for 2, 3, gosh, how many years? I can't remember. 3 years now? Yeah, 3 years. And we're still updating things and tightening things up a bit because as you go, different things happen, right? Different issues pop up that you've never dealt with before. So when you have a protocol like, okay, if this, then that, it makes it so much easier and it takes the emotion out of it, right? That's another thing. I feel like these clients who expect you to give them special treatment or whatever the case may be, it's because they don't take themselves as a business owner seriously. So in a way, they're kind of like putting that on you as well, right? Because like you would never walk into a clothing store, right? You would never walk into Nordstrom and, bring up a shirt that you want to buy and say, hey, can I actually break this up into 27 payment plans? Or can I have this for half off? Or, I know that I bought this and I've worn this and I've used this extensively. And I know there's no refund policy, but I demand you give me a refund. Like you wouldn't do that because they have a protocol, right? They have terms and agreements. And we see that and most people automatically respect that because that's the vibe. And people who don't extend the same courtesy and respect to our types of businesses, it actually speaks more on how they view their own. But here's what I've learned. Somebody's view and somebody's energy toward my business isn't my problem, right? I mean, I have to deal with it a lot, but it's not about me. It's about them. So I used to get butthurt about it. And I used to get offended and be like, oh, you just think I have all the time in the world to do this. Or you think and I would like take it so personally. Like, who do you think I am? You must not take me seriously. No, they don't take themselves seriously. Okay. That's a them problem. That's not a you problem. But if you let them walk on you and you let them push over your boundaries, then now it is a you problem. Now you're letting that infiltrate. And now that is saying something about how you view your own business. Okay. So we're in charge. We're in charge of our business. So anyway, protocols, big deal. If this, then that, right? If this happens and having somebody on your team to do this, again, it takes all the emotion out, right? I have Megan on my team. She's the one who sends the emails. It's not me. It's Megan. And she's following the system that we've had in place for forever. So it's nothing personal, but we're a business. and a business has got a business, and you got to respect that or you're out. And then finally, the last question is, what is your process to define ideal clients and crafting a message for her? So we kind of already touched on this. We'll go a little bit deeper. So when defining your ideal client, we first have to get clear on where you're going. What is the vision for your business? What's the game that you're playing? What is the end goal this year? So this is one of the things that got me out of my funk, because when I set new goals for this year and I decided, you know what, it's been far too long. We are going big this year. Big, big, big. And I set those goals. Well, now I have a different level standard for many things, including the clients that I want to work with. So we want to get clear on what is that vision, where are you going, and who is the client that's going to go along on that ride. That's how we identify her. Maybe you've already worked with her and you already have experience. Like, I can think off the top of my head, 5, 10 women that, like I said, I'd work with for the rest of my life if they wanted to, because they're so fantastic to work with in every way. Those are my dream clients. So when I craft my messaging, I'm always thinking of them. I think of one of those women and I speak directly to her, depending on the offer, right? So if I'm maybe doing something that, there are times that I put out things that are a bit more beginner. Like, well, yeah, I do. I can't think of I have a lot of different examples, but I'm not going to sit here and think of one off the top of my head. But there are times that I'll do something that's more beginner. So I'll speak a bit more general and I'll keep it more focused on what the offer is and what the outcome is. But anytime that I'm selling something where the goal is to attract in those whales, I speak to the whale. I speak her language. I get clear on where is she at? What is she struggling with? What does she want? How does she want to feel? How is she feeling now? What's holding her up? What's inspiring her? All through the lens of what it is that I provide. So you can get into her psyche. And oftentimes our ideal clients, especially if you're doing the work, you're doing the identity work and you're walking your talk, oftentimes our ideal clients are ourselves, which makes it a lot easier. But what we don't want to do is you don't want to try and talk to everybody. That is the kiss of death. When you try and speak and appease and you have to make a million different caveats and justifications, because yes, I'm talking to the whale, but what if the beginner is also listening or watching this or reading this? What if she can't afford this thing? So what do I say to her? What if this person gets offended because I says blah, blah, blah? So be it. If they're not the whale, they don't matter in terms of this message. They matter, but not in terms of this message. Speak to one woman, let it be. Because the more direct you are, the more laser focused you are, when you speak right into her soul, she will hear it. And I promise you, hand on a Bible, swear to God, pray on your message. Pray, thank God, thank you, God, for assisting me in getting this message, this podcast, this whatever the case may be, in front of the woman who needs it and who's ready to move on it now. Won't he do it? He will. Every single time. Okay? So pray over it and believe it will happen, because it absolutely will. And it will get in front of some people who aren't meant to see it too, and that's okay. But let me tell you something. Don't judge a client by their cover, because I can't tell you how many times I have been pleasantly surprised by women who, judging by their past behaviors, I kind of typecast them or kind of put them in one box, not in a bad way, but kind of put them in the box of okay, they're not quite there yet, and then when she just gets out of the damn box. I cannot tell you how many times. So what's so cool about these messages is, yes, you're speaking to the whale, but there are some baby whales in your audience, and some of them might take their time to get there, and other baby whales decide I'm ready to be a big girl whale, like that. I did that, right? I was a baby whale swimming in shark infested waters when I decided, screw this, I want to be a big mama whale. And you decide like that. You decide like that. So baby whales, we love them. And also, this kind of goes back to the embodiment and the identity work too, but be the client that you want to attract. Be the client that you want to attract. If you're a pain in the ass, or if you refuse to invest in your own business, or I don't know, you're just doing something that you know is not a match for who you're wanting to attract, you better clean it up. No judgment. We've all made our own mistakes, but that is slowing you down and it's going to affect your results. So that's another thing to look at there as well. All right. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast at all, it would mean the absolute world to me if you left us a positive 5-star review on iTunes or on Spotify, wherever you listen to this podcast. It really does matter and it goes a really long way and it allows me to continue to show up and do this. And it just feels really nice, you know? So if you could take a minute and do that or screenshot, share, whatever you want to do, that would mean the world to me. I love you and I will see you here next week. Bye.